All right, let's jump right in. Today we're tackling a subject that's, well, it's a big one. We're talking about the privatization of nuclear energy. It's this huge question. Should one of the most powerful and, frankly, sensitive technologies we've ever created be in the hands of private companies? Is that progress, or is it just asking for trouble? So yeah, that's the core of it, isn't it? Is moving nuclear power out of government control and into the private sector a good idea, or is it a really, really bad one? Let's break down the arguments on both sides. Okay, so before we can even begin to tackle that question, we've got to make sure we're all on the same page. To really get into this debate, we need to be crystal clear on what we're actually talking about. Let's define our terms. First up, nuclear energy itself. In a nutshell, it's the incredible power we get from messing with the very core of an atom. The upside, you get a massive amount of energy with way fewer greenhouse gas emissions than fossil fuels. But, and this is a huge but, the downsides are just as significant. You've got the risk of radiation, the huge challenge of storing nuclear waste safely, and, of course, the potential for truly catastrophic accidents. Now, what about this word privatization? What does that really mean here? Well, essentially, it's about shifting who's in the driver's seat. It means moving things like building new power plants, selling the electricity, and even leading the research for new tech from government agencies over to private, for-profit companies. So with those definitions in mind, let's explore the optimistic side of this. Let's look at the promise. Why are some people absolutely convinced that privatization is the key to unlocking the full potential of nuclear energy? The folks who are for this really boil it down to three big things. First, money. Private companies can bring in massive amounts of cash, which could mean we get new plants built much faster. Second, efficiency. The private sector is all about the bottom line, and that pressure could drive down costs, making nuclear power cheaper for all of us. And third, and this is a big one, innovation. That same competitive drive could spark some incredible new ideas. Yeah, let's dig into that innovation piece for a second. The idea here is that private companies, with the freedom to invest and take smart risks, could seriously speed up the development of next-gen technologies. We're talking about things like small modular reactors. These are smaller, designed to be inherently safer, and can be built in factories. Or hey, maybe even brand new solutions for finally dealing with nuclear waste. But, and you knew there was a but coming, that's only one side of the coin. The potential upside comes with some incredibly serious risks. For a lot of people, handing nuclear energy over to private companies is just too dangerous of a gamble. And this quote really gets to the heart of the problem, The number one goal of a private company is to make a profit for its shareholders. The fear is that in an industry like nuclear, that drive for profit could go head-to-head with the absolute non-negotiable need for safety. When you look at the case against it, things get pretty serious fast. There's the terrifying thought that companies might cut corners on safety, using cheaper materials or hiring fewer people just to boost profits. Then you've got major national security concerns. We're talking about nuclear fuel and technology. Could it fall into the wrong hands? Who holds a private company accountable if something goes horribly wrong? And finally, that huge, lingering issue, the long-term waste problem. And right here, you can see this fundamental mismatch. It's like they're operating on two completely different timelines. A private company, they're thinking in quarters and years, maybe 20 or 30 years out. They're accountable to shareholders. But nuclear waste, that stuff stays dangerously radioactive for thousands of years. Can a for-profit company truly be responsible for that kind of timescale? A government, on the other hand, is supposed to be accountable to the public and think in terms of national security and that super long-term stability. So are we just stuck between a rock and a hard place? Do we have to choose between slow, steady government progress and fast but potentially reckless private development? Well, maybe not. A lot of experts are pointing to a middle path, a public-private partnership. So here's how a model like this could actually work. First, the government keeps ownership and control over the most critical assets. We're talking the nuclear fuel, the waste management, the real sensitive stuff. Second, you bring in private partners to do what they do best, innovate on the technology, manage construction, and run the day-to-day operations efficiently. But, and this is the absolute key to the whole thing, every single step is overseen by a powerful and totally independent government regulator. The goal here is pretty straightforward, at least on paper. You're trying to get the best of both worlds. You want to harness all that speed, that capital, that innovation from the private sector. But you keep it all inside a rigid framework of government oversight that makes sure public safety is always, always priority number one. So, after weighing all the promise against all the peril, where do we actually land? Well, it turns out that asking if privatization is just good or bad might actually be the wrong question to ask. The decisive factor isn't really about who runs the plants. That's right. Whether a program is run by the government, by a private company, or some kind of hybrid, its success or failure doesn't really depend on the ownership model. It depends completely on the strength and the integrity of the rules that govern it. At the end of the day, these are the things that matter. These are the absolute non-negotiables. You have to have strict, clear laws that don't bend. You need a regulatory agency that is truly independent, has enough money to do its job, and has the power to enforce those laws without political games. And you need a government that is completely accountable and transparent. Without these things, any model is just a disaster waiting to happen. But with them, a private partnership could be a massive opportunity. Which brings us all the way back to the beginning. Now that you've heard the arguments, the potential for incredible progress on one side and the risk of catastrophic failure on the other, what do you think? Is bringing private industry into the nuclear world a necessary step for a clean energy future? Or is it a gamble we just can't afford to take? The right path forward is definitely still up for debate.